How are
Morning.
you today?
Oh, Don, I'm doing great. Nice to be here.
So today we're recording. It's the 7th of July, and I can't believe it. But it's been 2 weeks since Automate, and we've been dealing with the chaos of bringing the booth back and just finding a home for everything. Biggest show we've ever done by far, and we had 20 Volodic people sharing the booth with us. We had 20 or so, 18 or 20 Rain engineering folks with us and the Rain Digital Factories folks. Also, I wanted to do a shout out to Thomas and Sarah Selfridge, Matt's two kids, who were our interns and indentured servants during the show. Awesome to have them, and just wanted to give a great shout out to the two of them. But
Yep. Kept their
uh,
energy up all the time, even doing the minifigure demonstration. They
yeah,
had a lot
the
of energy.
The show was a great success. We had hundreds and hundreds of people come through the booth. Uh, for us, or for me at least, the thing that I realized was that in the process of preparing for Automate, we, you, and the team developed a number of use cases. I'm going to say we probably showed a dozen or more different use cases, but probably could have shown 20 use cases of MES, mostly with real hands-on things like measurement devices, scales. There was a robot. There was a machine tool simulator that was just a PLC and an HMI, but it allowed you to demonstrate downtime events and quality events and tally reason codes and things like that, so
I
that
was
we could
happy.
use it with the OEE module.
Yep.
There was some great SPC alarming demonstrations. There was a prophecy discrete demo where we were uh, demonstrating the assembly of a Lego person, and I meant to bring one with me today, but I don't have one. Um, but so much MES capability was demonstrated. It occurred to me, kind of in flight, that I've never seen a trade show or a demonstration that showed so much physicality, where an operator or a user or a supervisor could immerse themselves for a very short period of time. We were doing minutes long demonstrations. Um, could immerse themselves in what it was like to use MES technology in a real circumstance, a real situation. And I think you came away feeling the same way. What did you feel like was the reaction that you got from uh, visitors in the booth, the attendees who decided to go through the MES demo?
Yeah, the visitors that came by, I mean, there's a lot to see at that show. And a lot more, flashy robots. There was dancing robots there, and some I think were shaking up cocktail drinks or something. But what we figured out was we wanted to do things that were hands-on, like you said, and the energy was there. I heard comments like, "Oh, it's so intuitive," or "That's exactly what we're looking for." And it's different than when we're used to doing these demonstrations. A lot of them are virtual. They're for companies that have been looking a while for an MES or something like that, and so they need the more in-depth demonstration. And here it was, just show me what it looks like. Let me get immersed into that world for a second, and that just struck up a lot more conversations. Of course, these are, no matter what, these are just introductory conversations, right? And so we just want to figure out where are they at in their journey too. And like you said, the energy was there, and to even see things like with that minifigure demo was the smaller use cases where it was a lot packed into it, where you could just look up at one screen and see the schedule, and you could see how Rain Engineering integrated it in with the discrete module, and the two just stayed in communication, and you could just see between the two, and you're right there at a workbench putting together your Lego guy. um, and like the other use cases too, you brought those scales, we integrated them in so we could show people how you can connect up lab devices, and whether it's like going through the historian or little calipers that just write the value right on the screen, and people could see it go and write the value in. So it is one of those seeing is believing things, and being immersed into it really, I think, brought it to life for people coming by.
Yeah, I think we had we saw all different kinds of roles in attendance. People who are part of the engineering department and who automation is not foreign to them, but MES is a little bit nebulous to them, and it allowed for some more concrete, hands-on examples of how their operators might use things, and also we saw a lot of leadership in
Okay.
companies that I think in at least in the sales engagements I've been in with customers, with senior staff, senior executives, they know to ask questions about connectivity and they know to inquire about how do I get data from the shop floor into these systems, and those questions kind of go away when you see it in action. It's one thing to do a demonstration of software that's really slideware. And ours was scripted too. I don't mean to pretend it wasn't, but the physicality of it made it more tangible, I think.
Anyway, Automate 2026 was a huge success for Rain, for Velotic. I think it was great to be there with our Velotic partners.
To show that the products are alive and well, and you know that they're thriving together, and we have a really strong ecosystem.
Thing I'd like to mention is just that with the booth, we had several speaking engagements. Dan Kubik from Rain Digital Factories and Joe Gerstel from Velotic held a stage together and talked about AI and prophecy and in the future of prophecy. We had 3 different lunch and learn sessions. The first one was on cybersecurity, and that was a cool trifecta because our own Steve LaJoy talked about cybersecurity awareness and how just helping your organization be more aware of cybersecurity risks reduces that risk. Then Abose did a session or did a section of that presentation, that lunch and learn, on the cybersecurity capability within Prophecy for both the SaaS and embedded in the software. What is the methodology for cybersecurity in there? And third, Tony Hillers from our friends at RZ Automation, president and owner of RZ Automation, talked about cybersecurity in terms of hardware and robotics. Great session, great discussion about cyber awareness. So then I was fortunate enough to have a speaking engagement on the Automate Theater stage. And I don't know, we didn't advertise it much and who would want to come listen to me talk anyway, but we probably had 30 people in the audience. And this is what really struck me. My topic was MES is a fantastic foundation for the use of AI in a factory in terms of organizing data, standardizing data, enforcing the usage of the system that would provide the data so that it's complete. It's not just good quality data, but it's complete data. And how that's just such a great foundation for the use of AI in a factory, because everybody hears that AI is going to make their lives better in their factories. So I talked about that for 30 minutes and had a ton of questions. I know you couldn't make it. You were busy with a client, but it was great. It was very engaging, and I was surprised by it, how much engagement there was. And really only 2 of the people in the audience were selling to me. The rest were genuinely interested in the topic that we were talking about. But what was really striking for me, what changed my opinion about how important that speaking engagement was, is I got back to the booth. There were 3 people from the audience at our booth getting different demonstrations of the technology.
Congratulations. You know, a lot of these conferences or just like virtual meetings, you speak out into the ether, and maybe people get stuff from it or not, but you don't get that feedback. And for you to get that amount of feedback is something. And, you know, it says to me, I mean, you don't need charm. You don't need charisma. You don't even need an advanced level of intelligence.
That's right. You don't need
But
it.
what you do need was experience and the fact that you're meeting people right where they're at, right? And when people understand technology, we were talking about this before, they're not only are they not scared of it, but they can start engaging in it. And I think what we hit with that is we're out there seeing this. You spoke on this topic because you know that, you know, when we bring data and information together, that we can help people. And I think AI is just that latest thing that has awoken the world to the idea that, you know, if you put a little bit of effort into it, you can get a lot out of it. It's always been that way for MES, but people are seeing that. And I think you were able to speak from that experience, and that just translated into people saying, I'm hungry to learn more.
And the appetite was strong at this show. The appetite was very strong at this show for all, we had RZ Automation in the booth with us. I failed to mention them earlier, but they had two FANUC robots there, one palletizer and one a gear sorting robot that was showing a couple of different technologies off. The movement of that, the robots in the back of the booth, draws people in, but then the contribution that the robot makes to the simulations of the plant floor and the things that we were doing were great too. And it's great to have such a diverse team to talk to anybody that comes into the booth about whatever topic that they want to. It was a great show for us.
Yeah, no, just the variety of things that were offered at that booth, and it didn't hurt that it was right next to the food court and next to some of the other big players. But people would come up and grab a cup of coffee, and they're
vendor behind us. It was the fudge vendor behind us that like people would linger. They would be in our booth and they'd go, "Is that fudge over there?" And you go, "Yes." And so afterwards, they linger.
I had to get some of the fudge myself. There was no way I was escaping that.
I got away without. I'm not a huge fudge fan. So it was, I got away without having any, but I know it was a popular thing among our people and our guests too. So, So anyway, great shout out to the Velotic people, RZ Automation people, the Rain Digital Factories folks. Our good friends from Cyber Gear had a booth there. Fantastic. Dave and Chris had a fantastic booth right up on a corner in a main aisle. Very engaging. I know they had a lot of success. They're just a couple of examples of how when you start using technology for the first time, I think about there were a number of people who were resistant to smartphones. And now those same people who were resistant to smartphones, you can't get them to put them down.
And for better or worse.
Yeah. And MES is that journey too. We have operators who talk about software being Big Brother. Watching what they're doing and reporting what they're doing. But when they when they have the right user experience and they experience that technology helping them do their job, helping them make great decisions, helping them to get good quality products out the door, you can't get them to stop using it. They want to use more. They want to expand how they use it. They want to see if they can use it in this way, and the ideas start to flow. And so MES is that same thing. It's the same theory that technology terrifies people until they start to use it, and then you basically create a monster.
MES, when we see customers that we work with implement it and they're users of the system, they become believers in the system, and then it becomes, what more can we do with it?
You're making me think of how we engage clients when we're in flight, when a project is in flight, and I think about training and how key that is to MES success. Why training becomes an embedded part of what we offer, but also an embedded part of the UI. The user experience has to include some pointers that say, start here and push this button next, or enter this value next, or just there's that kind of on-screen training. And then there's the recordings we create mid-flight. We have a program that people may or may not be aware of called Manufacturing Know-How. It's the name of this recording cast, but also it's a product for us. It is the learning management system that Rain maintains to help our customers get access to more detailed training around prophecy and around some ancillary systems.
So it's a crossover between training and adoption, right? Yeah. And adoption it's that thread that goes through everything, that all of the conversations, even in the design. Like, when is it appropriate to use the out of the box screens? And we stay out of the box all the time, so that the system can be upgraded. We don't bolt on modules or anything like that. But there is a difference between pre-built screens and then what the purpose-built solution will look like. And sometimes it's like, you know what? If an operator, all they need to do is enter in that reason or type in that value, let's reduce the amount of clicks they have even further. So you're talking about training. I just wanted to bring in the idea that it's also about how do you provide an interface that's going to be intuitive to them, that they don't need a manual to open it up, because it fits perfectly into their process and in their day.
We've always partnered with Velotic, and our team delivers the training that you go buy from Velotic. So if you take a Plan Apps Fundamentals class and you're not taking it through one of the other channel partners, when you buy it from Velotic, our team is typically doing the instruction on that. And we offer a pretty unique experience with our support team handling breakout sessions where a class student can break out and go ask a question in a separate room without disrupting the class itself, and reintegrate back to the main room when they get their issue straightened around. And so that's one form of training that we offer, is the regular classroom sessions. We have custom built training classes that we're doing for clients. So custom training, classroom training, manufacturing know-how, all of those things contribute to our customers' success with MES and adoption, and getting the new person to adopt, and getting more people on board with implementation. And we've used manufacturing know-how many times to say, hey, there's a new member of the customer's team who's now part of the MES deployment team. Let's get them up to speed as fast as possible by engaging them in manufacturing know-how.
It really is meeting people where they're at, and understanding what's going to be the quickest path of getting them up to speed. And through all of those different ways, whether it's live training or recording things that are going to be beneficial as new people get rolled in, right from the users all the way through to the super users and the administrators that are going to want to keep it moving forward. That's the big thing too, is sometimes it's just like set it and forget it type things. Here's your system, and that's it. Well, there's always new features and functionalities. Velotic is building out new things all the time, so you just got to keep up to date from that standpoint. But then there's new products that come in, those new exceptions of what the system was supposed to do versus what it does now. And if you don't continue to make those corrective actions, first of all, you need the awareness of the fact that you can figure it out yourself, or you can ask for help, and it's something that's possible, right? But then to be able to do it yourself as well, to keep those products up to date, understand how specifications work, add alarms, add new reasons to the downtime tree. All those smaller things, they take a level of awareness that once you understand it, then you can keep your system up to date too. So all the different reasons that people need training, we talked about the gamut here of all of them. And
one of the things that I heard about still again at Automate that I didn't expect to hear about was people seeking ways, strategy, tactics for connecting their shop floor. And I would say, I tell people all the time, in the past 5 years, we've probably connected 10,000 assets on the shop floor. And I don't know, it might be 9,000, it might be 12,000, but it's a lot. We've connected a lot of equipment for people, everything from custom made test equipment to machine tools with CNC controls to every different PLC under the sun, including adding a IoT controller with new sensors because the existing legacy equipment doesn't either have it, or you don't want to disrupt the machine control by screwing around with an old PLC. So you augment it with another piece of equipment. That connectivity effort is still ongoing. And I used to quote, a couple of years ago, I would quote statistics that 80% of shop floor equipment is 20 years or older, 20 years old or older. And 20 years ago, there were pretty connectable controls out. I would say that if 80% is 20 years or older, that probably 30% of shop floor equipment is 30 years or older. And
Sure.
There's a lot of stuff out there that still needs creative solutions for connectivity. A lot of plants that we go into don't even have control system engineers. And it's it's not something that they can do on their own. They have great electrical technicians who can help with the job, and we need those guys too. But a lot
You
of
know,
times they just want to hear from us.
sometimes they have the control engineer, and that person gets all the way in and realizing the disparity of all the different types of machines. You mentioned some of the older machines, some of them are even more proprietary locked down machines, and just looking over this landscape and just becoming bewildered. And I think they even have a hard time of even communicating up the chain just what I'll use the word what a mess it is, because um, like, which one do I focus on? This one I have to call this vendor. I think I know this about this one. And if you wanted to just look across the entire landscape and say, what is the effort level to even crack into all of these machines and understand what the data is? I think that's really where this assessment was born from, was the people that were just trying to even communicate to the leadership about what their current situation was and getting out of that paralysis state.
Yeah, definitely an important part of how we ended up with a connectivity practice. And there are cloud infrastructures that even host the device connectivity. Lots of different architectures, and none of which are going away anytime soon. they're the plants depend on the way things are and are slow to migrate.
But that's the whole point too, right? Is finding the right environment that's going to work for you, based on what type of IT department you have, what type of landscape you have as far as multi-sites. How much are you ready to? I mean, some people still built their own full, what I like to call future legacy MES systems, right? Like right now they're new, but eventually they're going to become legacy. Like people will go into the software business, but it's everything in between. And to really understand the landscape of options out there, like you said, whether they're physical, I will say virtual machines that are within your own data centers, we'll say, or all the way through to the cloud, and having it software as a service, as a SaaS with Volodic, which we're having great success with as well, and everything in between. Finding what environment is going to make the most sense for you. That's one of those other exciting conversations we get to have.
Yeah. So that's a lot. We've covered a lot of topics today. Automate, super exciting. We talked about training and connectivity and all of our takeaways from Automate. Customers being afraid of technology until they use it for the first time, or until it helps them for the first time. All these things are great. It's a great conversation. It's good to be back in the studio.
Yeah, it was roll up the sleeves for a little bit. I know you were busy with Matt Sulfridge and getting the system set up there for the Automate booth, and what a great design that you both put together, and to be able to just putting the crates together that would then carry everything to the show was impressive enough. But then the show with the screens up top and the robots and enough space for us and our friends at Volodic and RZ Automation. It was quite a show, and people were coming from every direction, whether it was to see the robots or the coffee stand. Had something to talk about with everybody, and we got to interact with some of the people that would stop by from the other booths and learn a lot. One of the, if I could bring up one more story that I think brings together what we're talking about here, from connectivity all the way through to understanding environments and getting all the data, is just in the concept of had a conversation with a company that they had connected up their machines. They had all that data validated. Well, they have all the data. They need to get it validated. And they went where we saw a couple of places go before too, was the idea of big data. And I was talking to the team at Volodic. I was talking to Joe about it too. I said, we're not hearing this word anymore. Like it kind of just faded away. And I realized in that moment, like no one says big data anymore. And I had an experience at a previous customer where they just took all the data and put it up into something like Snowflake or some other data lake, and started doing a little more research on it. And the new buzzword came up, which was data swamp. It's all murky now, and who knows what's growing in there. And that's what it came into, is people thought if we just load everything in, then the data scientists will figure it out. And I say the same thing.
And then they thought AI would figure it out. And
then they thought AI would figure it out, right? You need to provide AI context. You need to provide it structure and questions. Like what are the questions that you even want answers to? People always say, if you want good answers, you got to ask better questions. And the thought was just put it up there. Well, So bringing this back around, it was to this company that was saying, look, we have all this data, we put it up there, we're still not figuring this out. And what we're introducing in that concept is, let's do some data validation, right? Let's understand the machines and let's walk through it a little bit. Let's provide a couple of tools. And then from there, that becomes the on-ramp for AI. So of all those different conversations you're having, and you stoked some good ones because of the presentation that you provided at the conference, yes, AI is perceivably the future of where we want to get to. In order for you to get to that next step, the idea is you have to understand your data, and there's ways that we can provide tools that allow for quick and easy data validation of those machines, where people are looking at the machines, seeing what they're doing, and then being able to confirm or correct what the data is that's coming in, and making that data clean, making sure that it's people can trust it, and then from there putting it into a structured form that then AI can chew on it, right? And so that really was the culmination, I think, of what I saw at this user conference. In addition to all the dancing robots and all that, was AI is coming, prepare for it. And in MES actually is that on-ramp to then prepare your way to that AI future, or whatever that is, whatever that future is going to be. But first thing we need to do is get the data right and structured. So wanted to leave with that story as well.
Yeah, I think a couple of things about that. First, the AI, without good questions, without the prompt, right? AI is guessing at what you want, right? It's a probability engine anyway. And asking better questions is important. Having the data structured in such a way that the questions can even be answered is paramount. And that was, yeah, like you said, it was the whole purpose of the conversation that I had when I was at Automate. But it was perfectly timed because there's a lot of customers asking that question. We've not had great success with AI. It seems to be guessing. It seems to be developing our own bad habits. I talked a little bit about that too. When you don't have good structured data, or you don't have discipline of an adoption of people using the MES and completing the data, you're just teaching AI your bad habits, incomplete data and whatever. By the way, if you missed the Automate demonstrations that Rain Engineering held in 2026, we will be featuring all of those in our brand new Center of Excellence in Indiana. So hosted at our headquarters location is our Center of Excellence, where we'll host over 30 use cases that people can come to our offices, spend a few hours, interact with the tools, assemble things. There's some machining simulations for parts being made in a factory. You'll be able to experience our connectivity offering. We'll feature Kepware, of course, but also a wall of automation controllers and things that we'll be talking to, so you can see that it can be done. Connectivity can be done in a way that makes sense and sticks to your budget. You'll be able to see all the features of plant applications and MES and SCADA live in our, we call it our fishbowl, but our Center of Excellence here in Indiana. And we're just a few weeks away from that launch. So if you're watching and you're interested in the things that we're talking about from Automate, or you're interested in seeing our Center of Excellence, I'd love it if you would be our guest. You can go to raineng.com and click on the button at the top to schedule a time to talk about it, so that we can plan a visit. Please don't just drop by because the doors are locked. We want to be welcoming. Make comments in the YouTube comment stream. We'll get you set up to come in and experience MES, maybe for the first time. But we can also talk ahead of time about any use cases you might want to see, so that we don't spend time on things that you're not interested in. But great stuff.
Yeah, you know, we were talking a little bit before about how Velotic provides pre-built stuff, and they do have some good demonstrations as far as if you want to see the software in action. But I think you were talking about the reason for putting this together is really to show the idea of having a system that's purpose built. And we saw, firsthand when people got that hands-on experience. But with Rain Engineering, we want to show this is what it would look like on the plant floor. This is what the experience looks like when you're assembling something, when you're looking at a dashboard and seeing what the simulation environment is and all that hands-on stuff that we have versus what you're seeing up on the screen. And so, yeah, when you're talking about the use cases, it's really about getting into those situations that you'll see on the plant floor. And sometimes too soon in a conversation with a prospective buyer, it'll be about, can we go see a plant tour? And I think it's one of those things that's a little bit of, I'll know it when I see it, as opposed to let's sit down and do the homework. But I think the other part is they want to just be immersed in the situation and see it firsthand. And you actually made the comment before, it's like, I think that this is actually going to help them see it firsthand more than if they went on site. Because, when you go on site somewhere, it's noisy. It's such a big place. You're seeing little bits here or there, even if you're going in. You're probably spending most of the time in the boardroom and you might interact with a couple of operators. But here, we're taking all those experiences that we are implementing out on the plant floor and saying, let's just fast forward you. Just jump in real quick, see what it's like to be an operator, see what it's like to see a maintenance issue, see what it's like to see the dashboard. And I think that's the real genius of it is that because it's shrunken down into the fishbowl, it gives you an opportunity to just do a flyby over everything quickly and in a nice, quiet, air-conditioned room too. So I think there's snacks involved as well.
Yeah, snacks and there's a great Mexican place down the road too. Also, I think there's a great chance of seeing the use cases you're very specifically interested in. If you want to talk to our customers, I'll introduce you to all of them. Our customers rave about us, and most of them love their Prophecy implementations too, right? Our customers are very willing to do reference calls and that sort of thing. But in terms of experiencing the technology, and not all customer visits are to experience the technology. Some are just to validate, hey, there's other customers out here that are using this product or whatever. But in terms of really getting hands-on and seeing what are the use cases, how would we use this system in our plant, you're not going to get that from a customer visit unless you're going to someone that does the same thing that you do. And almost always you can't get that customer meeting, because if you're a competitor or you're doing the same thing, they don't want to give away their secrets.
Good point.
And so coming to our Center of Excellence, the Rain Engineering and Rain Digital Factories Center of Excellence, to see the technology in use, how your operators would experience it, there's no replacement for that. And it's great. There's talk of doing it on a bigger scale in Boston for Velotic, but the reality of it is in 3 weeks' time, our Center of Excellence will be ready to host guests. We're just putting it back together from pieces we took to automate, and also making some pretty permanent fixtures. So we're weeks away from that. The technology's already programmed and able to do it. It's just the physicality of it that we have to get completed here at the Center of Excellence. But that should be ready for launch in August informally, and in September very formally we'll make a big announcement about it. And so, but the whole point is Rain Engineering's tagline is do better, but what it probably should be, and maybe will be, is make your factory run better. That is what we do. And it is why you would buy Prophecy and Rain Engineering Services, to make your factory run better. So I'll leave us with that comment. And I don't know if you have anything else for us today.
Oh, just make your factory run better. Let's go.
Make your factory run better. All right, Chris, it's been a pleasure. It always is. And we'll be back in the studio next week for more of this fun.